Hey, what's up everybody? This is Flashback Toys and Collectibles. So I finally found myself a Masters of the Universe Revelation FAKER figure at my local Target located in Casper, Wyoming. There's been a lot of issues with figures like this being picked up by scalpers, then sold on eBay for outrageous prices. So I was really excited to find this guy in stock, and they actually had 3 of these, but I only got 1 because that's all I need. The in-store price was $29.99, but Target's online price is only $19.99, so I was able to do our price match with no issues and got this at a great price. Now let's take a look at the packaging. Masters of the Universe Revelation FAKER. So on this side of the box there's not much happening. Let's check out the other side. On the back of the box here we have some nice artwork, and it shows FAKER with the alternate just robot head. And then on the right here we have a description of FAKER. Then down at the bottom here it shows some of the other figures in the Revelation toy line that are available. And I did do a review for He-Man and Skeletor already, and I'll make sure to put those reviews down below in the description. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up. So we got some tape at the top of the box here. So one nice thing about the packaging for this figure is you don't have to damage any of the packaging to get the figure out. That's always a plus. And it looks like there's not even any bands that are holding this guy in place, so everything should just pull right out of here. So here's everything you get inside the package. You got the figure itself with the regular He-Man armor. You got a couple extra hands, a power sword, a shield, an extra set of armor that looks more like the traditional FAKER armor from the original figure, and a couple extra heads. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at the figure. So at first glance it looks like it's just a repaint of the He-Man figure for the Revelation toy line, but they did do a little bit more work than that. If you look closely here, you can see where the skin or flesh is exposed and he turns to a robot right here. There's a little lip there where that flesh is exposed. And same thing on the arms right here. So this gives the figure the appearance that the flesh has been torn off, showing the robotics underneath. So there is quite a bit of extra detail with all the flesh that's been torn off this body. Not so much on the back, just up here higher. But this arm, you can see it's ripped off here and here. And then this arm on the bicep and shoulder. And the face that's on the body right now is half robot, half flesh. This figure has 30 points of articulation. So the head can swivel up and down, turn side to side. The shoulder can move up and down. The bicep can turn. The elbow can pivot. And there's 2 joints at the elbow there. So one here and one lower, but that's really tight. It doesn't want to move so great. And then the hand can swivel back and forth. The torso can move up and down. You can pivot at the waist. The very top of the leg here seems to have a ball joint, so it has quite a bit of movement. Then there's also a joint right here, which I'm not a fan of these joints, but it does give the figure some more movement. Then the knee has 2 joints. The boot can turn side to side, and then the feet can move up and down. Now one thing I am noticing with this figure is a lot of the joints are really tight. For instance, this shoulder right here, if I try to push it all the way down, it starts to get really tight. I guess that's better than being too loose, but I'm kind of afraid I'm going to break it if I push down too hard. And same thing with some of the joints down lower here. I mean, you really got to press to make these joints move. Let's go ahead and compare Revelation FAKER with Revelation He-Man. And if you look from the waist down, They look pretty much identical there. But if you compare these figures from the waist up, they look quite a bit different. However, they do have a lot of similarities still. They seem to have the same armor. If you look on the wrist, and then look on the other arm right here, those seem to be the same. The same chest armor. And I thought they had the same hair, but it looks like the hairdo is different. As far as the faces go, it is somewhat similar on the flesh side of the face here, but it does have some different paint for the eyes and eyebrow. And if you take a close look at the face right here, you can see where it goes from flesh to robot, and there's a little bit of a lip there as well. So I really like the amount of detail they put in this figure, at least the upper half of the figure. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the different heads for Faker. So we have the straight robot head, kind of a silverish blue color, with red eyes and white teeth. And right here we have the more He-Man looking head, but he has red eyes instead of blue eyes. Let's go ahead and put this head on first. It's a really tight fit. Man, I feel like I was gonna break the figure trying to put this head on. So this is a cool looking head, but it does look out of place on this body, especially with the neck being all silver and then just having a flesh face on there. It looks a little strange. Let's compare this face with He-Man. So I thought at first the faces were the same with just different color eyes, but after looking closely, it looks like he has more of a frown on this face and kind of a half smile on this face. And then the hair's different as well. Now before we try out the other head, let's go ahead and see what this head looks like on He-Man. This head looks really cool on this body, even with the red eyes. You could go ahead and repaint these eyes so they're blue like He-Man, but it still looks really cool just being red. And it makes this He-Man look a lot tougher with this head. This guy looks like he's just too friendly, while this guy looks like he's not playing around. Now let's go ahead and try out the full robot head. Again, it's super tight, but once it's on there, it works good. This is a very cool looking head, but honestly, when it's on this body, it doesn't look like Faker. This just looks like a new character. So out of the 3 different heads that are available for Faker, I'd have to say that this one is my favorite. The half robot and half flesh looks really cool on this body. Now let's take a look at the alternate armor. So this is orange, which would be more traditional with the older versions of Faker. So it looks like I have to pop off his head to get this armor on because how small it is. Then it hooks on the back right here. And there you go. That's what he looks like with the alternate armor, which I definitely prefer. I think this looks way cooler on this figure. Let's check out some of his other accessories. So he has a shield. So this is meant to go in an open hand. So I need to switch this hand out with one of the alternate hands. So here is the open hand. Now we can slide the shield over his arm and then under his hand right there. So this shield is nice and secure in this open hand. It's not going to fall off at all. I like that. Here is his sword. So it looks like the power sword, except it's orange at the bottom. And this is a full sword. This looks really neat. Looks like I need to change the hand for him to hold this as well. So this is a closed fist, not meant to hold any weapons. So I'm going to pop this off. then pop in the alternate right hand that's open. And now this sword should pop right in his hand, but it's a pretty tight fit here. Alright, got it. So that's nice and snug as well. That sword is not going nowhere. It is nice having all these options to customize him, but for display purposes, I think I'm gonna keep him just like this. When comparing Revelation Faker with the original Faker from the 1980s, there are some drastic differences. One of the biggest differences would be the color of the skin. The main color of the skin on the original Faker is all blue like Skeletor, and on the Revelation Faker, he's half flesh colored, then he has kind of a silverish blue color for the exposed robot parts. Let's check out the height differences here. So this guy stands at about 7 inches, and this guy is at 5.5 inches. So basically, these two Fakers look completely different. The only thing that looks remotely close is the armor. They both have orange armor, but the shades of orange are different as well. Now let's compare Revelation Faker with Classic Faker. So this is Faker from the Classic toy line, and again, these two figures look completely different. The Classic Faker is slightly shorter. He measures at about 6 3/4 inches tall. So again, when comparing these two Fakers, the only thing that's close is the armor. Now, one thing I did forget about this Faker is he has an alternate head, which is half robot and half flesh, kind of like this guy. So that would be one more similarity between these two figures. So I think both of these heads look really cool, but if I had to pick a favorite between the two, I'm going with this guy. He's got more detail on the robot side of his face, kind of giving him a Terminator 2 kind of look. So here's my final thoughts with Revelation Faker. He's a very cool looking figure. However, I would prefer if he had the traditional blue skin like all the other previous Fakers that have been released over the years. But this Faker is being faithful to the Netflix animated series, so that part's cool. I guess I'm just kind of biased to how Faker should look. I'm just so used to him having the blue skin with the orangish red hair. So here's a fun fact about Faker. If we go back to the original He-Man cartoon from the 80s, I believe Faker was only in one episode, and he did not have blue skin. In fact, he actually looked just like He-Man, except for he had white eyes. So if we're going to compare all these Fakers to the original Filmation version of Faker, this guy would be the closest. There's a lot of great detail on this figure, and he's not just a repaint of He-Man from the waist up. However, from the waist down, he's just He-Man. I would prefer if he had some other things happening from the waist down, but he's still a cool figure. Now, one thing that does bum me out with this figure is the lack of detail on the robot side of the face, especially when comparing him to the Classics version of Faker. All the ripped and torn looking flesh on this body really looks gnarly, and I dig it. So overall, I think Revelation Faker is an awesome figure, especially if you can pick this guy up for only $20 like I did. He comes with the 2 extra heads and an extra set of armor. That's a great deal for a figure like this. Okay, it's now time for me to go. If you liked this video, if you could hit that like button and subscribe. And have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.